We are officially
And,
recording.
Oh, yes, please then tell the people that we're recording now.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody to the June Global Board of Directors public meeting. This call is recorded. So to start us off, I'll click on the, which I haven't done already, I normally do it, previous board meeting minutes. Can everybody see my screen first of all?
Yes, it's loading.
Yes, Owen.
Owen, can
Perfect.
you just announce on the board who's in attendance and stuff,
Oh.
so I have the record?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Don, for keeping me honest. So from the board, we have Martin, myself, Vandana, Richard, Gary, Grant, and a number of staff and community. Thanks, Don. The May meeting minutes. Motion to approve the May meeting minutes. Has everybody reviewed them and everybody happy?
I second it.
Cool. So in the order that I see everybody, Martin,
Yes.
Vandana,
Yes.
Richard. You're on mute, Richard.
Yes.
Thanks. Hey, Gary.
Yes.
Grant.
Brenda's on mute.
Yeah, Grant. I think you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm yes. Perfect. So moving on. Mike, would you like to talk us through the organizational KPIs?
Yeah, so just briefly, as an update, obviously you can read this here. So membership was up last month. We actually have been trending about 3,000, which is quite impressive these last several months. The momentum for the website, as we've talked month to month, as relates to some of the coronavirus, we believe that's affecting some of our website traffic, but it is down somewhat. Also of note, the percentage of traffic that goes to the wiki, the old wiki site, continues to decrease. It's less than 5% as of last month. You can see kind of the metrics on service tickets. We've talked on staff is to kind of get ourselves back within compliance on some of those items. We're outside of bounds right now. And then as you can see, cash on hand is quite good. And our year-to-date net income has been a loss, which of course is what has been budgeted, but we are in a favorable position as it relates to budget. And from that, I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thanks, Mike.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. So with regards to the finances, as Mike alluded to, your cash position is still very good. At the end of May, you had just under $1,450,000. However, and I'm not going to go through all this, you guys can all read it. The highlights are, your revenue is ahead of budget by about $137,000. Your expenses are under budget by 42. Every department's under, except for conference expenses for the events that actually did happen in the first quarter. So against the 4 months of budget that was approved, and the first month of the Z forecast that was approved last month, we're actually doing almost $180,000 better at this point in time than that forecast. What I do want to caution everybody on is we don't necessarily have an expense issue because the expenses are in line and actually under. My concern is the revenue side. While we're ahead at this point at the end of May, I'm not sure that's going to hold with, events. So I think expenses will stay in line or be under, but I'm not sure that the revenue, because we rely heavily on events, is going to continue as it has in the first 5 months. So I'll stop there with any questions that people may have. Okay, not hearing any. I wanted to give you all some updates on some other things that are going on. Currently, the 2019 audit is ongoing, where we started it last week with the CPA firm. So we're sending them the information they requested, and it's moving along. The European entity had their Q2 tax return done. We didn't know anything. We actually have a credit balance with the taxing authority, as we've had for the last year or so. So that's moving along. I am also working on a cash forecast so that I can try and plan out what our cash is going to be through the rest of the year. As soon as I have that done and in a working model, I'll be happy to share it. The last thing I wanted to mention is, Vandana, I'm going to reach out. I apologize. Our biweekly calls got interrupted, and I'd like us to get back on that track. So I'll reach out to you separately, and we'll find a time that you and I can connect.
Sure.
Other than that, the last item is the ING banking issue that popped up. Martin, I didn't see a response back. Are you going to be able to work on what they're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. All right. If you need my help, you need anything from me, just ask. But
I know where to find you.
okay, there you go. I'd like to try and get that addressed and get all those people that are no longer with the organization, off the account. So.
Okay.
Other than that, through May, like I said, we're looking good. My concern is how we move through, the back half of the year and the revenue that comes in against the expenses that we have. So.
So just to ask them that, there's really our expenses. Sorry, go ahead, Owen.
Sorry, I was just going to mention with the training that was happening today. Are we aware of the revenue from that?
Yes, I was going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, we're sitting at there's two different revenue items. So we opened the June training event with about $34,000 in revenue. That's gross. That's not net. We still have to pay the trainers, and we were able to sell 10 sponsorships at $5,000 at each for the entire 3 months, for the 3 months of training. So the event revenue is going to be about $50,000 for this month.
Thank you. Sorry, Gary.
Let's just say Tom, you were saying the expenses, you don't see them, are extending line for the next while. Are we not going to spend a lot less on expenses because of the conferences like AppSec US not happening?
Yes, we will spend a lot less on the conference expenses, but that's factored into the forecast that we redid.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's all. Sharif had a question about San Francisco when I sent out the financials, and that was a good question. That's already been factored in, that San Francisco is out of the forecast at this point, but we're still putting in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, I think there's 4 more trainings, and we had forecasted those at about 125,000 each. So, if that doesn't happen, or sponsorships and corporate memberships don't come online and get paid for, we'll be eating into our net reserves, I guess is what I'm saying.
So given the fact that the revenue for this June training event is 75K less than what we forecast, should we revisit that going forward, just to if this is maybe this is just a slump, but just to revisit and maybe refactor that in? Yeah, so
Tom's correct. So Emily and I were just discussing this yesterday. The current plan, the budget was built to have $240,000 of revenue from these trainings. This is the first of what is planned to be 4 installments. So the expectation is we're going to double down our efforts on marketing for July and see if we're able to recover a little bit. The concern is that, that there's become somewhat of a saturation of online training that 6 weeks ago was not here because everyone's kind of adapted. We were kind of the first to adapt, and everyone else has kind of started to adapt. But we're going to give ourselves one more month before we push the panic button on that. The Model Z forecast, the budget, the Model Z budget that the board approved 2 months ago does not include any expenses or revenue for the most part for any events. So for instance, LastCon, which you'll find out here in a minute, they have decided to postpone that event, at least the in-person version of that. That's a budget neutral event because we had already scrubbed out the revenue and the expenses for LastCon. There is, just to be sure that I cover, there is some revenue that's attached to the San Francisco event because we do intend to, well, we still haven't canceled it, but we're already looking at how we can execute it online in a way that'll help us to still achieve our net revenue goals. Because that's the important thing about the events is net revenue, because there's a lot of cost and a lot of revenue. So we're focusing on the net revenue, which is the important thing as it relates to our budget. So, solve and see if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
The one other piece of good news is I looked at it last week when I was putting the financial package together. Our AR was about 300,000 as we sit here today. So I'll catch up with Mike and the team, and we've got to increase our efforts to collect all of those. As far as I know, they're all good. That's some more cash that we can bring into the organization.
Cool. And I think I'm not really too sure whether we're doing this, but maybe we should be using the media streams that we have as a global board as well. So if as you're putting things out, maybe it can be sent to the global board list, and the board can share them on the likes of LinkedIn and so on, just to try and drum up more marketing. Sure. Because sometimes I only see, it's only when the email comes to me saying that as a member that the training is going to happen, then I copy and paste stuff from it into all those mediums. But maybe if we can be a bit more proactive on that.
Okay. Yep.
I hope we all have large networks that we can share it with. So
that would be great. And I'll turn it back over to Mike in a minute. The very last thing I want to point out is if you look at my points of note section, I know sometimes, and I apologize that I sound like a broken record. However, this has been going on for the last 6 years and it just keeps growing. With what's technically put aside for the chapters, even though the chapters are not recognized entities, so the cash that's here belongs to OWASP, the foundation. If you take out the chapters, the projects, which I'm not that worried about, and the AP, and liabilities for things that we have to provide for sponsorships, we had a negative operating cash balance of 283,000, which, if we collected the AR, it would be even. We really do need to think about that because that balance just keeps growing, and the chapters, at least for the 6 years I've been here, have never spent more than $200,000 a month. And I know Mike's tried to work on it, but I'm going to throw my voice in there too, that we do need to do something because now it's starting to get to be really unwieldy. So I'm not saying we need to fix it here, but I do really want to point it out that we need to come up with some type of a solution for the chapter balance. Now with the audit, it won't be part of the audit because it's a subsidiary ledger and you can't owe yourself. So the audit doesn't take that into account. But me being your financial person, I need to point it out to you all. And with that, I'll take any questions. And if not, then I'll turn it back over to Mike.
As a legal entity, as a 501c, could there be any problems there if we are perceived to be negative cash or have no cash?
No, because that's a very good question, Gary. At this point, as far as true liabilities that this organization owes, that's not one of them, because you can't owe yourself. Back in 2013, they changed the rules, and the way OWASP had accounted for things was they had a liability account for every single chapter balance. And then the rules changed, and when you had KPMG look at it back then, they made Allison, the bookkeeper at the time, as we were coming on, reverse all of those. So that's why you don't see it on the balance sheet. What we may end up having to do with some of the newer rule changes is to take the project balance and put that as a liability. But again, that's a fraction of what the chapter balance is. So that may come out of this audit, but I'm not that worried about that. It's the chapter balances that just keep growing exponentially for every event that happens. And then the spending's not following it. So if we can work on something where I know Mike's talked about a central pool or some type of graduated spending, and we lessen this, I'm happy to help and be part of that.
And in relation to the audit, Tom, when do you think that it's going to be finished?
We're hoping August at some point.
August.
The 990's due on November 15th, so we'd like to try and get the audit done in August, and the 990, gets done right after that. So, by the end of September, I'd love to have all of that behind us long before the 990 is due.
And is there anything that the board needs to do or assist with from that perspective?
Nope. The next step is to, they gave us a whole list. I'll have most of it to them by Thursday, which is what they wanted. The next step will be, they have a meeting with the executive director. They just ask their normal, typical audit questions. And I honestly don't see anything really different. We're not doing anything different than we did in 2013 or 2016 at this point, except for maybe, the project balances. And the other aspect is there was another rule change with how we portray memberships. We've always taken them as they've come in. But now there's some testing that needs to be done. So it won't be a cash issue. It will be more of a reporting issue as to how they're presented. But it's not, in meeting with them last week, I don't see it as being a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Tom, when we are meeting next week, let's decide what we can do further to enhance the budget or to make the changes. So there are a few things that I have proposed, which we will be discussing, but then let's try and brainstorm on what all resources we can leverage and what all things we can do.
Sure, Vandam, I'll send you a note. I'm around Monday and Tuesday, but with it being a short week, I'm trying to take Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday's the holiday. So I'll shoot you a note, and we can catch up either Monday or Tuesday, or later this week if you've got some time.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, let's zero down on some timing. I'll discuss with you offline.
Okay, sounds good. And sorry to have taken up so much time, but there's a few things going on.
No, it's important.
Anyways, I'll turn it back over to
It's
Mike.
important and we need to discuss it.
Right. I'll turn it back over to you all.
Mike, do you need to go through the piece at the bottom?
I'll skip through it real fast, just super fast. So we've already mentioned the virtual AppSec Days is happening, it started today. I just updated that page. It's 104 attendees is what we started with today. I've already mentioned the fact that we did sell 10 corporate sponsors. I think most of you know that one sponsor did cancel, citing some issues on one of our mailing lists, which we've talked about. And some additional, the program's complete, by the way, for San Francisco. I'll mention that. They are in the process of preparing a recommendation for the board, because we do have to make a decision about going forward with an in-person event by the end of July. There's the latest update on chapters and projects in terms of their website updates. There's a brief mention here about the leaders list. Again, I know, I think Richard put that on for a conversation later, but that's just my update as to what the status of that is. Other notable projects, as you know, staff is working on the 2020 board elections and also kind of normalizing the plan. One of the things that Don, Harold, and I have talked about is every year the dates are kind of different. And we're going to be proposing that we have a set date every year for when, you can submit your nomination, when the voting starts and when the voting ends. It was kind of it was varying all the time, and that seems to be probably not a good idea. So we're going to suggest a more firm timeline. You've also heard the news about the trademark. That news was shared with me on Friday of last week. We'll be developing in the next couple of months an implementation plan for that. Let's see here. Everything else is just kind of other projects. So and for the sake of time, unless there's questions, I'll defer my time back to the board.
Have we made any inroads within the GDPR project? Actually,
we've had 2 months in a row where we were in final testing and discovered some issues with how our forms were set up, and we've been very careful not to do that campaign at the same time that we're trying to get people to the training classes. So we expect there to be another window next week that we're going to try to get that campaign kicked off. We've done a majority of the work. It's just a matter of, we don't want to launch a 2-week campaign on 50,000 people until we have all of our ducks in a row. So
yeah.
every time it stopped because of testing, we found a little problem and decided there was too much risk to launch it.
No problem. Does anybody else have any questions for Mike on any of that? Martin?
One question is that when I look on the staff project, I cannot find the elections. So
yeah, the elections, we haven't stood up a page yet. So Don's in the process of doing the first draft, and then once we have a draft, we'll put up a page.
It is. Yeah, it is listed under my milestones, the basics, as we do the dates. So we started that until we.
Yeah, but it also should be listed on the foundation goals. Or...
Yes, yeah, it should be.
Okay, thanks.
Don and I can work on that. That's no problem.
Gary, did you have a question or no? Okay. No, you raised your hand, but I didn't know what it was.
Oh, I was just scratching my head. Sorry.
It was like, cool. So moving on to the old business. So there was the first point here is that there was a motion made out of bounds, so outside of the public board meeting. And the motion was to protect the personal safety of our community and members during global pandemics. The OWASP Foundation and its leaders are permitted to gather or meet in person only when in compliance with their local government restrictions. Furthermore, the community is encouraged to host virtual meetings until such a time when in-person gatherings are permitted. The vote was conducted electronically on May 26th, 27th, and all 7 board members voted yes to pass the motion. The second motion is, so in accordance with section 4.02 of the OWASP Foundation bylaws, the Board of Directors hereby grants a 1-year honorary membership effective to and Sharif had issues the last time, and I giggled, sorry. Chetan Karande, Luis Dorado, Walter Martin Villaba, and Aldo Salas for having provided a benefit to the organization deserving of the membership. Does anybody second the motion so that we can discuss?
I second it.
I second it.
Okay. Okay. So, so I'd like to maybe bring Lisa in on this, as Lisa reached out to a number of all of these, and I think 2 people responded. Lisa was looking for clarification on why or the rationale to why they've applied for the honorary membership, and 2 people applied. So Lisa, would you mind naming the names at least? Or?
Yes, Martin replied, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Shatan.
Chetan.
Karande.
Chetan Karani.
CHETAN. Yes. He's a project leader and Martin is a chapter leader.
And what about the
Okay.
people that did not respond?
They didn't respond. I reached out and they didn't respond.
So why are
How
we,
long ago was that?
why do we have a motion to approve them if we have no information and they did not respond?
They
That's it.
submitted.
So technically, the motion should be amended to remove the two of those.
How long has it been since you emailed them?
It's been over a month, hasn't it?
Okay, right.
So we this item was on the our previous board meeting, and as we didn't have enough information on the people who submitted for honorary membership, we asked Lisa to reach out, and the information we got back was only from those two. The fact that one is a project leader and one is a chapter leader. So
Do we know what the others are, or it's just as they don't respond? Others project leader checklists, but you said you emailed them months ago.
Yeah,
So
and was the response back within the ticket that they opened up? Or was it an email? Lisa, do you recall?
It was an email to the address that they presented in the request form that they submitted originally.
Okay. And have you sent out more than one request?
No, I just sent out the one.
All right, I think it would be worth it to try again.
When you get an email for and you have responses within a month, I think that's a decent.
Yeah,
waiting
the
period.
emails didn't bounce back. They just didn't respond.
So we have they had a month to react, right? The response.
Right.
Yeah.
Email might have gotten lost. You know, there's been a lot going on, as you know. So I would say try one more time, and if they don't respond, then just let it be.
would it be worth responding in their ticket by closing the ticket with rationale and asking them to contact either yourself, Lisa, or
It's
another
not
member
a
of staff?
No, it's a
It's a-
Isn't it?
It's yeah, it's kind of like they go on. It's a link on the website that they submitted.
It's a
Okay.
The honorary form. It
Okay.
wasn't like a JIRA ticket.
Okay. So we can do this two ways. We can approve we can vote on approving the two that submitted the information, and ask Lisa to maybe follow up with one final email with the others,
That's a good idea.
or table it until next month.
No, there's no reason to penalize
I
them
think-
that responded. Let's approve them.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a quick question, just for staff reference. Are there guidelines here that people go by that for honorary membership, like you have to be in the community 5 years? Is there any guidelines so we know?
There aren't, and
I
those
don't
need
think that there is.
to be developed. That's something that should be done for sure.
Yeah.
And that
And I guess maybe the outcome of this is to formalize those guidelines as one of our policies. So at this point in time, there's no guidelines, so we should proceed with the vote. But after this, we should definitely formalize a policy as to what constitutes an honorary member. After all, an honorary member is technically only getting 1 year membership covered. So if we formalize a policy after approving these, next year they may not or may fit into those criteria.
So I would suggest then we change the motion to grant it for Chetan and Martin, and the other two will be.
Yeah. Dawn, can you make that change in the meeting minutes?
Yes, I have the note down. I'll put it when I do the motions, the minutes.
all right. So
Thank you.
so do we have a motion then, or do we have to?
Yeah. So
We do?
no. So the motion was seconded. So with the alteration, do we need to redo it?
Yeah, you have to change, read it again with changed.
Okay. All right. So the motion amended is in accordance with section 4.02 of the OWASP Foundation bylaws. The Board of Directors hereby grants 1 year honorary membership today to Chidan Karande and Walter Martin Villaba for having provided a benefit to the organization deserving of a membership. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
I second.
Yes.
Hey guys,
Okay.
it's
I
Sharif.
second.
Oh, and Dawn, just to note, Sharif joined in the meeting minutes. So
Second, sorry, Owen. Who's second? Is it Richard or Vandana?
Richard,
Thank
Richard, second. And going by the order that I can see, Martin.
Yes.
Somebody just disappeared. Gary.
Should we do both at the same time or individuals, or do we need to discuss?
Just
Well,
discussed.
If you have an issue, then please mention it now. I thought we were done with discussion.
No,
Sorry, I
yeah.
thought we were discussing the amendment to the actual motion. I know of what Martin does. I just don't know the other person.
Did you read their submittal?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Did you read their submittal?
So Lisa forwarded on the information, which I then forwarded on to the board, or Lisa forwarded on to the board. I can't really remember which one. So that was the information that we're using to vote on.
Okay, right. In that case, yes.
Thanks. Grant?
I need to abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Richard?
Approve.
Vandana?
Yes.
Sharif?
Yes.
And I'm going to abstain as well.
1 second. Richard, were you a yes? I couldn't hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dawn, what was the tally of that vote?
The tally is, where we go, 1, 2, 3, 5 yes, 2 abstain, so it passes.
Cool.
So the next is an update, and it's resolved that the OWASP Foundation approved the community review process, and the executive director will form a 2020 policy review team to consider policies as found in the rules of procedure section of the foundation policies and procedures in this location.
So I was, Sharif's going to have to help me with this because I had originally suggested this be a motion, which is why it's written as a motion, but Sharif was indicating that this is more just an update that I'm going to proceed, given the fact that this was shared with the board last month. Sharif, do you want to further explain that position?
Sure, because I thought we went in circle on that one. At first, when we brought this up, everyone said, no, this shouldn't be a board motion. This can be an operational thing that the foundation can work on, which is fine, which is why I left the proposal. And the foundation worked on it. You provided a update on it last board meeting in the old business and a draft on it, right? So unless if you've received any negative feedback from the board or any showstoppers, I don't necessarily see this as something that requires a board motion to pass. And you can proceed as is with the updates to the policies, unless anyone has any feedback to the contrary. That's why I put it as that, because I was not on the understanding that this was ever going to be a motion, because that's the reason why it wasn't a motion in February.
This is being written into policy, so I think it's important that the board approve it.
Vandana, you had a question?
Right. See, if the policies are going to change, people should know it. There will be a central place where people can look at the policies, but if we are amending any policies, it shouldn't come as a shocker to the community, because there have been a lot of negative things which have been revolving around. So if we are making any changes, let's say board is not getting involved and staff is making any changes to the policy, or for any reason there are some amendments to it, can we make sure that we announce it, that these are the policy, this is the new policy, these are the policy changes that that's being done to a certain policy?
Like I think this should,
Go ahead.
I think this could just be built into staff's job description or their daily tasks, as in like when something's policy that's going to change, that it needs to go out for a review, whether it's a mix between the board and community or all. Mike, are you happy with that? Or like we can surely we can vote on it, but I think that the initial ask was from the board to have this review process. So and you've come through and brought us the review process, and like I think from looking at it, it looks fine to me.
If I can just jump in, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mike. It's simple if we just add a number 10 to the review approval process, right? We already said number 9 is once approved, the policy is posted to the OWASP website, having removed the draft WIP label. And number 10 could be an email is sent out to the community and announcing that this policy has been updated or changed. Simple.
If there are any changes, if community knows about it, it'll be more comfortable for everyone, because there will be amendments that a lot of work people are doing. But if people don't get to know that, yes, the staff is doing this, I think it won't be justice. So if we are working on a policy and we are amending it, we are making changes for the betterment of community, let the community know that, yes, this is what we've done and this is the new policy. And
Adding
we
a
all
new
are in
step
this
9.
together.
The community
So
was,
adding a new
the community was,
make sense.
and the community was already.
Sorry, Grant started talking first.
All right.
I was literally going to say what Richard just said just now. So adding a step 9, where we announce the new policy to the community, would solve the problem, right? Because they were asked to look at things earlier on. We're asked to participate in that early on.
Yeah.
Step 10, yeah.
So it's just a matter of notifying them that their comments have been accepted. They've been worked into the presentation. This is what the board has now accepted. Here it is.
Yeah,
sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to jump in. That's what you were going to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Since it's just one statement and, we'd like to get things moving along, I think it's worth taking the 2 minutes to wordsmith it and then vote on it.
Is everybody in agreement?
I just added an item number 10, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just refresh that page.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Do we need to vote?
Yes.
Yep. that solves it.
Yeah.
So to reword this,
you'll need a second, because we really didn't make the motion yet, because we were talking about should it be a motion or not.
I'll second the motion.
You have to make the motion.
Okay, who was that? Sorry. Who seconded?
Grant.
Thank you.
Grant.
Who read the motion? Sorry.
I can't do that.
Yeah, sorry, I froze for a second, so I lost, and just came back when somebody was seconding something. So, so I guess the motion is that the executive director will form a 2020 policy review team to consider policies as found in the rules and procedures section of the Foundation's policies and procedures, so that we can have a OWASP Foundation community review process as documented within this URL. Does that make sense? Anybody second that?
Yeah.
Right, you got to repeat that because you changed too much of it.
Already, I don't know what I said.
Shall I make Shall I make the motion then, Owen?
Yeah, sure. Grant.
Okay, so the OWASP Foundation makes a motion to approve the community review process as documented here, and to give the executive director permission to form a 2020 policy review team to consider policies as found in the rules of procedure section of the foundation's policies and procedures found there.
I
get a
second it. I second it.
Vandana?
Okay, so the order that I see people, Martin,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Richard,
Yeah.
Vandana,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Grant. I think that it was a yes, but it broke up.
It was a yes, sorry.
Yeah, cool. And I'm a yes.
I think today the internet is flaky for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's just I don't know. I think it's my room as well. So hopefully it's me. And not
I'm in
everybody
the
else.
worst room in my house from an internet perspective. So it may very well be me, Owen, sorry.
I'm the opposite side of the wall of the router, but I still have flaky internet, so that doesn't make sense. Right, so that concludes the old business. Moving on to the new business. Vandana, you had 2 points.
Right.
You
So
want to talk us
I
through?
wanted to propose that, yeah, I wanted to talk about the chapter committee, which I talked about over the email, that we have everything ready for chapter committee, wherein all the issues can be discussed. The people are ready to join that committee. We have people who can join the leadership as well, and the purpose as well is there. So I wanted to put this committee forward so that we can streamline the process for chapters, and all the issues, concerns, and new things for chapters can be discussed via chapter committee. And there are leaders who are ready to take this committee forward. And it aligns with the 2.0 operating model.
Yeah,
So is the committee chair present?
Mm-hmm.
Who is that?
On this call?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think so.
No.
Where does it say?
I can ping Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, try that, Sharif.
So I guess the first thing that we need to do is identify whether there's any conflicts with any other committees. So has anybody?
No, there's
Does
no negative
anybody
comments
know
from
of?
anyone.
I
There
guess
was
this is
a-
from a
Because it was
board.
sent.
So the only possible conflict was discussed on the leaders list, and they've resolved to work together.
Yes.
So
There
it was
was-
a second push to form the committee.
Yeah, there was another one outside of this, and I brought them two together, and they're working together now, so everything's fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And all the leaders are in line with the committee.
I'm sorry. I had shared with the board previously, their intended charter and all the people that had volunteered to participate. So they have a full contingent of people. They have, a whole direction as required. So I think they're ready to go forward. This is a very important committee. And we should get up and running as soon as possible.
Yeah, Dawn, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
because I'm trying to set up all this stuff. When you did the community outreach, it was listed in the motion of the people who were going to be doing it, the 5, because you have to have 5 people on the committee, and Sam is the only one listed.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have the other 4 names who are on this committee, so we follow the same process for each one?
If we can move on to another subject, I'll look at my,
John,
right, unless someone else has
John,
that.
I sent out the email to the global board wherein who all people will be involved. I can share the names with you.
Yeah,
So,
well, it has to be posted on the motion, I believe, like Richard did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're approving those 5 people, not just the committee to start it. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, it makes sense having it there, because otherwise it's just a formation of a committee, with Sam as the only member, according to the minutes and our approval.
Okay, let me.
All right, so I found that. So how do you want me to share that?
I kind of
if you can share it on the chat, Richard, maybe. Does that make sense? Is that an easy way?
Yeah, and I can update any page as necessary right now, just to speed up the process.
Or when you say the motion, you could say the other names and I can put it in the motion.
No, I'm putting it in.
1 second.
I think for future, and maybe this also, that when we have a committee formed and for the board meeting there we are discussing this, the committee board should be present and should be invited and present for the future.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, did you see the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, and thinking me now as
Yeah.
well. So there might be an opportunity for him to join. I'll ping him the Zoom link.
So there are 10 people listed, so I think they're in good shape.
Yeah.
And also we have a standing board member who's volunteered to her time, so.
So there are 3 positions that should be there, and I can't see them now mentioned. So there must be a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary.
Correct.
So who's doing which role? Again, they should have been invited and should be present here. Could you please, if you're not talking, put yourself on mute?
Actually, that was the new board member. You didn't know? Okay, so are we held up until Sam joins us, or how does the board feel? I think the content is all there also.
Yeah, who's the contact for the committee?
The contact.
Sam is the.
We have also that a staff member should be in contact with the committee, right?
Yeah, Sam Stepanian from London. I think.
Yes.
And
So we have
Vandana is.
Great. Was one staff member should be involved in the committee, right?
Yeah. Well, it's basically the liaison with the committee from staff to the foundation.
So.
Or from staff to the committee.
Is that in place?
Here's Sam's on.
Yeah, and in fairness, if you look at my screen now, if you can see it, the committee leadership team will be invited to provide feedback for the assessment of their assigned staff member and stuff like that. So I guess we probably didn't invite Sam or the committee. So that's our bad.
Hey, Owen, I'm
and
here.
Sam, you have a nice green background there.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam, I guess it's I don't know whether you can see my screen. So Vandana just motioned for the proposal to form a chapter committee. Sam, yourself, had proposed and circulated to the leaders list. And I guess we probably didn't, so we've all reviewed the information that has gone through, but we probably didn't follow process ourselves by inviting you onto this board meeting.
That's why Sharif managed to do it just in time.
Yeah, apologies. So
Sam, can you check the chat and make sure that these are the these are the 10 people that you are in agreement with that have agreed to join this chapter committee?
You're pasting them in the chat?
Yeah, no, he joined after the message was sent.
He won't have the history.
No, all right, you want me to send it again?
Yeah, that's correct.
Them.
Yeah, these are the people.
I've resent them. Yeah.
All right.
And actually, we had even more because since that agreement, since I circulated a message on the leaders list, there were a few more chapter leaders who expressed interest in joining. But I think we need 6 minimum, but we've got 10, so I think that's more than enough.
Okay, and just out of those, I'm just reading through the committee 2.0 are all those members of OWASP. So just reading it states OWASP member rather than
I think
wider
they're all
community.
leaders. The only thing I think you want to check on Azadin, because I know last year there was a bit of a question about his honorable membership when it came to elections, but of course everybody else
Honorary memberships are fine.
Yeah, just 1 second on these 10. I mean, I can check the records to make sure everyone is a member, that it didn't expire, because they have to be a member to be on, and then we have to know like who the 3 are in charge. So since I just got it, it's going to take me a few to check who's members.
Sam, have you decided on the 3 governance positions?
No, because I've just circulated the proposal, asking people for the feedback, which people just said, "Oh, I want to join," but no one really said, "I want to be the treasurer, I want to be the head." So this is where I'd like to see guidance from you, because there's a lot of discussions on the lists about these roles being elected ones. Whether, well, how do we decide among these 10 people who's going to do which role?
Yeah, that's what you
really...
say. It's elected, so you don't decide on it. So you have organize a meeting, then tell them what is the responsible per role, ask people to nominate themselves, and then vote on that. I think the first part you can do by email, and the voting should then be in place. So
that's fine, Martin. I will organize it then. But obviously, we've got the people, and actually we have more, because I think we had at least 3 or 4 more people expressing interest from other chapters to join the committee.
If you want, if it's okay with the board, Sam, you can get on a call with me after when I check everyone's membership.
That would be good, Don.
Ballot to run for a position, and then I can go over the positions Owen sent me, if that helps, if that's okay.
Yeah, and I think we should be okay to approve the formation of the chapter committee based on the charter that we were sent, and that's the formation, but not, and then that's up to them to vote on the roles.
So there's one question which is actually concerns Dawn, and I would like to raise this with the whole board, because one of the mission of the committee that I put there is actually assisting OWASP staff in activities and operational activities such as registering and registering chapters. And obviously there was a bit of a discussion about that, whether we should be doing it. And I thought, because the major complaints that we're getting from members at the moment is that, of course, staff is overburdened. And if we as a committee of volunteers can help, we should offer our help. That's why I put it as one of the chapter committee's missions, to provide assistance.
Well, can I put my opinion on that?
Sure.
Okay. That's an employee operations job, so you can't set up a chapter because you don't have access to stuff to do so. And you can't make a chapter inactive either because you don't have access to do so. And pretty much as long as they follow the rules and do what they're supposed to, they can be an active chapter. But when the inventory is done and to make chapters inactive is because they don't follow the rules. So it's not, and you don't have access to the database and different things to check. So it's not really like you can formally set up a chapter.
Would it be worth say having, would it be worth having say the assistants to say go and police the chapters, I guess, and so like that's probably a very time consuming effort when you're trying to identify whether chapters are following the rules and so on, and then I guess the committee could potentially forward that information onto you, Dawn, so that you can action the items in the back end.
Well, it goes both ways. Right now, I'm not sure if it falls under me or Lisa. I don't. Okay. I'm going to be honest on this because it's still part of my job description. I don't think it's that simple because there are a lot of things, like there's been stuff all over Slack about a chapter, they got shut down. That was approved by a board member last year because they were running the chapter under someone else's name. we have chapters that are having money put directly into their personal bank accounts, which everyone isn't privy to. So they, you know, it's real simple. We keep chapters 1, 2, 3. All you have to do is update your chapter page and kind of follow the rules, and you could be a chapter. You know, it's not really one of the hardest.
That's fine, Don. So this is why we didn't say that we're going to be taking over the management of operational process, but we put the assisting. So I've just copy pasted the mission statement into the chat. As you can see, the last bullet point there is to assist OWASP staff in operational process of new chapter creation, reviving inactive chapters, and cleaning up defunct chapters. So whatever that assistance could be, even though, as you say, we do not actually have administrative permissions to click that button, but whatever assistance you need and whatever we think the board needs, we can help you with these processes, because we're getting quite a lot of complaints around the operational processes, and that's where we think we should be able to help.
Okay,
Yeah.
Martin has been jumping around looking to.
Guys,
Sorry.
I want to say something.
yeah, wait. Sorry.
So,
Can we? So, Vandana, Martin was next. He's been jumping around on the seat for
Sure.
a while.
Sure. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
I
sure.
just want to say I also say for the committee, I'm really happy about the enthusiasm and eagerness to work. But make sure that you have the first thing in place that you require, like your board, your chair, your vice, and your secretary, and start from there. Don't try to go for the stars, but go for the practical stuff first, and then evolve and proceed. My advice to you. Thanks.
Okay, Vandana, you were next.
Yeah. No, I agree with Martin. See, all these things are fine, and what Sam is saying is just assistant, which will come at a later stage. Right now, it's going to be more streamlining, getting started and helping the chapters. And then once we have a little bit of rhythm going on, then they can start helping the staff as well, because there's so much burden on staff as well. That's what the assisting OWASP staff means here.
I thought.
Owen, can I say something? It's Lisa.
Yeah, sure.
If the committee could assist the 100+ chapters that haven't migrated their chapter pages on the new website, that would be super.
It could be like, so the formation of the committee is really just to help chapters.
Yeah.
So I guess that could fall within the scope as well.
That would be beneficial, because I know.
But like I guess these things, and where it says assistance, it's really about like you may say or may ask Sam or somebody else in the committee for assistance with something. It's not as if they're going to be hounding to knocking down your door saying we want to do this or we want to do that. It's really just if the staff need assistance that they can help you.
I thought the committees, just a quick question, I thought the committees were supposed to evaluate things and then bring their suggestions or whatever to the board, not to the staff. I thought it's written that these committees are there to help the board per se, like, because is it going to be now say, would anyone, like say chapters or projects, are they going to now go to Harold or Lisa or me and say, okay, I need you to do this?
Well, they're not going to say we need you to do anything. It's more that they're there to assist you or to assist you, and also to assist the chapters if they need any help. So, and I guess this is actually something that's really, really useful, because the likes of if a chapter is struggling for attendees or if they're looking for speakers, then the chapter committee would be able to help them. And it's just something that we need to.
I posted the bullet items for what the charter is for this chapter onto the chat. Lisa, Dawn, you can add those to the minutes as well. And everyone can see they're there to help the chapters, update the handbook, ensure the chapters are healthy and active, right? So if there's a chapter that that either you or Dawn or someone else discovers is doing something questionable or is not meeting enough, rather than just waiting until they don't meet requirements and shutting them down, this group can actually reach out to them and see if they can help them revive and get up to speed. Something along those lines might be a good idea.
Yeah, like it's not taking over your roles.
I don't want to spend too much more time on this. Sorry, Owen.
Grant. No, go on ahead, Grant.
I think I think it's worth just reiterating, Dawn, that staff takes direction from the ED and only the ED.
Thank you.
This committee is there to help you. So it would be more likely that you'd be reaching out to Sam and the rest of the committee saying, can you please help me get through this list of 20 chapters who all meet this particular set of requirements, help them figure out what they need to do about it. So it's actually the other way around. I think the committee expects to assist you in getting things done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And last year there were a lot of chapters who weren't able to complete 4 meets or 5 meets in a year. So chapter committee can help them in getting the speakers, helping them with the technological challenges that they're facing. It could be now all the meets are happening online. So chapter committee can help the chapters host their meetings online, helping them with the technology so that the chapters can keep running.
Yeah,
It'll be more of a helping hand.
definitely.
And
I think it's
I'm
very
just conscious. Yeah, I'm just conscious that we are running out of time, and there's a lot of points, just six more points to go through. So the motion was to form a chapter committee based on the charter that Sam has provided. Will somebody second?
I'll second.
I second it.
Richard has seconded. So going into the order that I have, that I see, Martin,
Yes.
Gary,
Yeah.
Richard,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. I have got everybody, haven't I? Yeah.
Vandana.
Oh, Vandana, sorry, you disappeared. Where did you go?
Yeah.
Oh, Vandana, sorry.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes. Yeah. I'm
Sorry about that. So I guess the key things on the back of this is that it needs to be OWASP members. So Dawn, if you can reach out, or Sam, if you can reach out to Dawn with the committee members' details, then as long as everybody's a OWASP member, then we can, then that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And I will add other people as well to the list as well, because I think there were a few more people who expressed the interest in joining.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so moving on, Vandana, the budget Z amendments. I think this is more just a discussion topic that we could potentially run offline. Is that just so we can spend some time on the other points, or we don't have a hell of a lot of time on?
We can discuss it offline because I sent it. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just put forward these points because in the last meeting we were discussing that we need to have specific points, and I shared it with all the board that what are the 3 things that we need changes. So these are the 2 points which I zeroed down on, especially on the fundraising campaign that we need to have. We need to move from income development ideas, which we dismissed, to income development ideas because we need it, and we saw that there are income changes in the trainings that we have. We see fluctuation there, so we would need fundraising campaigns. And second thing is that certification program should be removed, at least till we decide on what we want to do it, and we cannot just rely on the certification campaign. These are the only 2 points that we can go ahead and make amendments to the budget points. I think then we can move ahead with the next points that we have.
And I think a lot of the items within the budget were suggestions and not things that we were going to go ahead with. So movement into things like certificates and stuff like that, we would have to put a lot of thought and conversation into. So it's not just something that Mike or the staff would create tomorrow. And I guess they're just really items for that, their potentials on how we can fundraise.
Right.
Is that okay for that point, or does anybody have any points that they would like to make on that? No? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Richard, you have a number of points here.
Sure. Let's see if we can get through these. Run out of time. So
You want to do the quick ones first? Because there's a few that's going to take.
All right. So let's jump to number 5. I think that it's prudent to make the decision now about AppSec San Francisco, because we can't afford to have staff spending time on something that doesn't look like it's a reality. I cannot imagine, based on all the reports that I have seen in the papers and in the news, that miraculously in 3 or 4 months, the COVID-19 will be gone and people will feel comfortable enough to gather in a massive audience. I think that this needs to be postponed, as we have done with Dublin, and focus our energies on more virtual events and discuss with the hotel about 2021.
So, Mike, you stated at the earlier on that everything had been organized, or everything was pretty much set for SF, if I'm correct. But we still need to make that call, and you mentioned July for that. I'm not too sure on LastCon's date, to be honest.
LastCon's scheduled for October. They have already chosen to cancel their in-person event, and we have already notified the venue that we are not going to be using the Norris Convention Center in Austin that week. When it comes to San Francisco, that event, we have, well, Emily just joined the call. The event has been planned, and we're in the process of exploring how we could do it as a virtual event. So that's the current status. So we're doing the plan, the actual conference itself, and all the sessions and all that's been set and planned. But the plan right now is to do that in a virtual fashion if it's required, based upon the coronavirus status. So I guess I'm going to ask Richard, are you suggesting we cancel the event, or are you suggesting that we do a virtual event? Or are you suggesting we wait for another month to make the decision in 4 weeks?
I don't see any purpose in waiting. If anything, for every conference that we do, we're actively looking for sponsorship. And if we continue with that, which I'm assuming we must, if it's scheduled, then we have issues with vendors. If we cancel it, it'd be best to postpone it and do it in 2021. I believe that, didn't you mention that there was some agreement with the hotel to allow that, or am I confusing that with Dublin?
We have already signed that agreement to be able to go to 2021.
Okay.
It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to hold an in-person event in the hotel in 2020.
Yeah, so I don't, again, the reasoning is to focus all energies on an alternative to continue with our virtual events. If you want to call it virtual SF, that's fine. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but we need to focus our energies. And again, there's no way that people are going to go en masse to San Francisco in 4 months.
But I guess the fact that staff have put in, staff and volunteers, just to say that, have put in this amount of time to get SF to the point where it is. It may be very, very easy to move that to a virtual event, which is so we're actually working on it, and moving it to a virtual event isn't going to be all that time in vain, if you know what I mean. So I think it's a good thing.
When I look at the notes from last month, it says future events San Francisco 21. So we don't have any two-person conference this year. So Richard, what's your question for this? And the other point is that in the notes, it says that this month, this board meeting, there will be presented an 18 months project plan for the conferences.
Yeah. So it's not on the agenda item, but Emily sent it to the board yesterday. And that's not it. This is it.
Sorry, Owen, just so Richard, the first thing is, so you're talking about the 2020 conference, right?
Yes.
Where when you look in the meeting notes, the 2020 conference for for San Francisco was not there. It's the 2021 conference was already agreed to next in last month's meeting notes.
So we agreed to 2021 based on the fact that we, in order to get less penalties for 2020 and not actually using the event, we had to agree to hold it in 2021, which is why that's there.
Yes.
So,
But it's already.
but
Yes,
Okay, but none of that addresses my issue and my desire to officially announce that it's postponed until 2021, or that it's a virtual event, or both.
no, and I guess that's something that we need to discuss potentially offline, and how we could, from a technology perspective and also stuff like that. So, but it's something that we actually need to put some time into discussion.
So staff is actively planning for either a in-person or a virtual event for San Francisco.
For 2020.
For 2020,
Yeah.
That's correct. And Emily has been for the last 2 months been, working in a way that would allow us to go either virtual or in person or even hybrid. That would be a third option. I think staff agrees with Richard's assessment that it's unlikely there will be an in-person event. We currently have until the end of July until we have to give official notification to the venue. And so our plan was to wait until the July board meeting to make a final decision about an in-person event. But that was the plan up until Richard's suggesting that we make a decision.
There's no motion from Richard for this. So Richard, if you want to wait, you can put a motion for the July board meeting. I'm just conscious that there's 8 minutes left.
I just want to agree that because October is only 3 months, 4 months from here now, and the July meeting is only 3 months from the date. That's too short. Definitely, that should have been decided. Because we're only 4 months from the conference, right?
I think we said that we were going to do it at the end of June, actually, from what memory serves.
So the point is, it sounds like there are people who still want to discuss some of the logistics of how we do it. So what can we get a separate meeting with the board within the next couple of weeks to finalize this? Of course,
I think it would be good to get something from staff detailing what
with Emily at the meeting as well.
Yeah, but it could be by email, and I think Emily and Mike could put together an email detailing what the two options would look like.
Sure. Okay.
And how we would do the virtual, rather than having a meeting. The detail is important.
My purpose has been achieved. It's gotten a discussion going about this. It's like, we have our reputation to maintain, and we want to do things intelligently, and we also want to minimize any staff overage, right? So let's go on to the next one. Thank you very much. And thanks for the update, Mike, on LastCon. 2, 3, and 4. Mike, if you could get back to us on those. Those were things that you had mentioned in the past that we were expecting some updates on. I'm sure you have done some of these things.
So just a note on that, if it's something that you're looking for an update from, an email to Mike or the staff would suffice.
Mike would it be?
We would get to Mike to get that email. So we don't need to put these items on a board meeting minutes. If we want it, we can email if we are looking for an update from Mike.
Yeah, but just like he presents his operations update. I was hoping this would be part of it, and so I'm mentioning these.
But we could email them and say, hey, can you add this to your operations items?
Okay, so if these can be in the minutes, that he'll respond to these either in an email or at the next board meeting. And then the last item is the leaders.
Please give Mike the time to respond to this comment. Otherwise, you have just comment on comment. So we just want to acknowledge Mike that if you can do that.
Mike either?
I'm still here. I'd have to look at these more carefully.
Yeah, we're not expecting updates now, Mike. It's just Richard has asked for an update to be sent in relation.
If they can be included in the future updates. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike, 2 and 3, I took verbatim out of your plans. So these shouldn't be something different for you. And 4 is just something that we've talked about for quite some time. That's all.
I'll add an action in the minutes.
And just to note, things like strategies to increase value to OWASP membership, like these are items that the board can actually input into, and it's not just on the staff's hands. So they're items that we can all help with, and we all should help with.
I think item 4 is a great opportunity for a membership committee to pick up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Richard, let you and I chat about that offline.
Sure. And absolutely, board has to be involved in this as well. Yeah. The last one is the hot item, the leaders list moderation. That was never brought to the board. I guess it was just decided by a couple of people. And the question is, do we want to keep it? And if so, for how long?
there was an email sent out just before the board meeting that it will go off for moderation, right?
I'm aware.
If I recall correctly.
No, so I unilaterally took this action last week when I was getting a number of complaints of a violation of code of conduct on that list. And it seemed like the simplest way to mitigate our risk as a corporation and not be in violation of our code of conduct was to set the list to moderated. This action does not censor anyone. Let me repeat that. It does not censor anyone. It just allows staff to review the messages prior to them being posted. I did make note that we have already had to stop one message from going on the list during this moderation period because it did violate our code of conduct. And so we don't have a plan as to when we were going to turn it back to not moderated. There's a variety of other issues with this list that perhaps we should also discuss at some point in time as it relates to membership on the list, because there are a number of people on this list that are no longer leaders. And there's a lot of leaders that are not on this list. And there's also a lot of people on this list that are not members. But those issues aside, I felt that it was my fiduciary responsibility to take action to stop the violations of our code of conduct on a list that we publicly support and monitor.
Yeah, and in fairness, an email was sent to the board before it was done, and I don't think that there was any comments on it at that point. And I, as chair, will completely back the need to do it, as we're an open organization, and the type of conversation and the type of items that were discussed on the list last week were not in line with our code of conduct, and at least one of our sponsors has actually pulled away from us because of the discussions and the items that were brought up and the way that people were allowed to comment against our staff, which is not appropriate and not acceptable. And a number of complaints have been made to the OWASP Compliance Committee on this item, about the how the comment or what the comments were and who initiated the comments. So me as chair, I'll completely back this, because it's not something our staff are also OWASP members and part of our community, and nobody within our community should have to go through our be talked to in the manner in which was discussed in that list.
So OWASP is very sensitive to openness, and I think that the idea of doing this achieved its purpose, a cooling off period. I would suggest that we reopen it. There's been a lot of discussion about that. A lot of people seem upset about this. If we had 24/7 staff, it might be a different perspective, but we don't. And making people wait many hours, or in some cases more than a day, Mike, I think correct me if I misunderstood, but we have US staff and they don't work weekends. So if somebody posts something Friday at 6 o'clock US time, they've got to wait at least 48 hours for their post to appear. Is that accurate?
All of our staff is salaried. They work normal business hours. All of us also do on occasion, check into our inbox and take actions over the weekends and evenings, but I don't expect staff to work over the weekends. So yeah. And
to be honest, we need to own this as a community. So if our community can be professionals and be the professionals that we're supposed to be, and not do this, then we shouldn't have to put in this moderation.
I'd like to start to address this by suggesting that we make all of the lists, every list that OWASP has, publish only from OWASP.org email addresses. That way we don't have to censor the community by moderating. We don't have to put an additional load on the staff to having to deal with the moderation. And if someone is in violation of the code of conduct, that individual is in violation of the code of conduct, and they can be stopped from posting to the list.
You don't throw out.
There's a small problem that when you are a volunteer, you not by default have an OWASP email address. The other thing is we are open. OWASP is for open source. The open doesn't mean that everything is allowed, even with. So I think the transparency is more important than the moderation. I don't like moderation. It should not be necessary, but I totally concur that what happened did require for action, and that action has been taken. I think it's good. And I agree with Mike for protecting our community as a foundation, from business perspective. But just to say OWASP open, so everybody should be able to say everything, this is not part of our openness. We are transparent, we are open source. That doesn't mean that everybody can just access everything. That's not how it should work. That's not the OWASP open. The same as we are not a democratic organization, we are not a political organization. Open is open source.
Okay, so considering that the inability of the staff to handle comments in a timely fashion, and the expressed desires of many people that the moderation has served its purpose, I think it's time to reopen it.
I don't exactly agree, but yes, Sharif.
Yeah, so Mike, if we do open it, have we actually resolved the underlying issues related to this?
Well, I would not use the word open. I would say if we set the list to not moderated, like I said, just Harold, remind me, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? We had one post that we had to deny because it violated our code of conduct.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday. So I'm not sure we're out of our cool off period yet. And people have done this. I will say, just in my defense, I've been involved in owning mailing lists for over 30 years, and I don't take moderation lightly. And I only did it because of the fact that I was getting repeated complaints from the community about the discussion that was happening on the list. That's the only reason why I did it.
Okay, but do we have compensation controls? Sorry, on. So that there was a chaser that I had there, which is was trying to get to, is if we open it again, will the same problems be still there? What I'm seeing is there's still people who are being abusive as of yesterday. The second point is, do we have something in place to make sure that if someone does behave inappropriately, that it's enforced, that they are removed from the leaders list? It's checked anyway that it is the leaders list, and it stops, and then the complaint gets filed, and then a decision is made off the back of that.
So what I will say is that there is no written policy about our mailing lists whatsoever in terms of who can be participating, in terms of the dozens of different settings that we can set for all of our mailing lists. There's no written policy. It's something that's on the list of to-do items on policy, because I think we should have a written policy. Staff is fairly hesitant to just turn somebody off, because we feel like that would actually have a more negative impact than just doing a moderation event. I do know that this particular action and the offender and parties have been reported to the compliance committee, but I've heard no report back from the compliance committee in terms of any further actions.
And just, can I
So,
just jump in there? I don't think that we can take the moderation off until the compliance committee rules on the complaints that were made. Does that make sense to everybody?
I don't see the connection.
I would personally, I would actually say, you know, that's what I was getting at is I would be uncomfortable until there are controls in place to relieve that. Otherwise, it will come back again. So my person, if you're okay with that piece, but I would personally, after the compliance has ruled, but personally, I would feel better if there's a policy so that the staff don't feel that there's a retribution that will come against them. That there's an actual policy that says if you violate the code of conduct on the leaders list, and this is what they are, then the staff can take action knowing that they have the backing of both the OWASP policy and the rest of the community and the board. And that's available in black and white.
Martin?
It's the leaders list, so it's meant for the leaders, so either project or chapter leaders. It's not a list for just everybody to talk about everything. It's a purpose-bound list. I agree with Grant. I understand where you're coming from, but the problem is that, as I said, not all the volunteers and all the leaders actually having an OWASP email address if they're not paid member. I think even the paid members not getting or will not. Do they get all the OWASP email addresses, Mike?
Yeah.
Can you hold a position of leader in a chapter or an organization in any way, shape, or form if you're not a member? Can you be a non-member and a leader of an OWASP chapter?
Absolutely. 80% of our leaders are not members.
Yeah. And so therefore they can be, I think when you sign up to be a leader that you can always email address, is this correct?
You can request it. In both cases, as a member or a leader, you can request an OWASP email address. You are not required to have one, although we strongly encourage chapter leaders in doing business on behalf of the foundation. In other words, scheduling meetings or sending invites, likewise for projects that they would use an OWASP.org email address to not have the compromise of vendor neutrality.
So I think that's very clarifies what we should do. So our leaders must be kind of pushed or encouraged to use our email address, and then we can do the leaders list for what the leaders is meant to, for leaders to exchange knowledge, events, stuff like that. That was the leader list is about, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I think Mike made a.
I think we're and telling people what email to use, how to do it. Communication is a challenge for a lot of people, and they've come up with their own ways. I think we know who the people are. Anybody can't just join the list. They're vetted first, so we know who are leaders. The only thing missing is removing people who are no longer leaders, right?
That's true as well. So I think Mike gave some statistics to me during the week. So Mike mentioned, sorry, just to state, not all our leaders are on the leaders list, both project and chapters, but also there's, I think, at least half of the people that are on that list are no longer leaders or affiliated with a chapter or a project that are on the list.
Grant, you had a point?
I was just going to say that we require individuals to be members of the community, members in good standing with OWASP, in order to take up positions on committees. But we allow them to lead the very core of our community, chapters, and the very value of the community, our projects, without them being members. I have problems with that on many levels.
And that's something that we could potentially solve by rewriting the honorary membership policy to potentially give our leaders a year membership, or in order to that they can do it. So in the past, when I was a chapter leader, that's what I did. I got honorary membership for being the chapter leader. So.
And that has been part of the discussion at the UPSEC Amsterdam, the leaders meeting, when we said that we kind of want to encourage leaders to be members. So yes, that's a problem that we said when you for every organization you participate in, you have to pay membership fees. OWASP does not require this, and it's a big problem. And I think Mike addressed it perfectly, but there have been a lot of people there were complaining about it, that you would be a volunteer and then still have to pay the membership fees. So this is something
I'd like to hold those two separate, Martin.
Yeah, but it's kind of same.
I would like to propose.
Well, no, because somebody can be a member and have membership given to them by the organization. So I'd like to keep the payment separate from being a member. You should be a member. If you're part of this organization, you're part of this organization. You should have membership.
Yeah, but then it's a chicken egg problem, because when you what is that? How you define membership? And there's a difference between a paid and non-paid member already. So the moment when you're participating, are you participating? When is the point when you become a member? Are you participating, or you participate because you become a member?
I have a proposal on this. I think that we now have a good vehicle. You make a proposal to the board, which is the chapters committee. We can ask them to make some recommendations about the chapter leaders and membership and requirements, and at least we'll have something, instead of shooting all good ideas out now and we're out of time. Let them banter it around and come up with a proposal that Mike and the board will review and discuss.
I would like to hear it, but it's not only chapters, because it's membership. It's bigger than chapters. But yeah, of course, all input is welcome.
We don't have a membership committee at this point, so we're trying to use whatever resources we have to help.
That's how I ended my statement. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, we're 7 minutes over the meeting, and Gary started dancing there a few seconds ago. So we
dancing. I mean, really dancing.
I don't know. I don't want to see that, Gary.
Gary's always a shaker and mover.
So I guess that discussion, or those discussions, could be taken onto email, and we could move them forward. So if there's no other business that anybody would like to bring up, I would call to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Yeah, right.
We kind of left the moderation open.
Yeah, and I guess that should potentially be brought to email. I don't think a decision or a conclusion is going to be made on this call.
All right.
Do you want me to?
I think the request to remove the moderation, I think we can safely say that the request to remove the moderation, Richard, at this point it's a no. Staff does not feel comfortable turning the moderation off, and we can continue the discussion offline to see how we can make it push forward.
That's not a board decision to turn off moderation, yeah.
No, it is very much a operational decision, but by the same token, it is something that affects our community. So it was right for the board to be having this discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So I adjourned the meeting. Dawn, if you could stop recording.
Okay.
Thank you.